Between two coastlines lies a passage capable of influencing economies thousands of kilometers away. This is the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most strategically important waterways on Earth. Every voyage through these waters connects oil fields, refineries, ports, and consumers across continents. Tankers may appear small against these ancient cliffs, but the cargo they carry can be worth tens of millions of dollars. The Persian Gulf has only one natural maritime gateway to the open ocean. To reach the Arabian Sea and the wider world, most ships leaving the Gulf must pass through here.
Iran forms the northern shore of this maritime corridor.
To the south, the dramatic mountains of Oman rise almost directly from the sea.
These steep limestone mountains create one of Arabia's most striking coastal landscapes.
But beneath the beauty lies a global energy artery, operating every hour of every day. The largest ships crossing Hormuz can stretch hundreds of meters from bow to stern. Their immense mass moves steadily through a corridor where navigation demands constant attention. On the bridge, crews monitor position, speed, traffic, and weather continuously. Radar transforms distant ships into moving targets that must be tracked and predicted. Technology assists navigation, but human observation remains essential.
A small mistake aboard a large tanker can take kilometers to correct.
These ships do not turn like cars. Momentum governs every maneuver. Powerful engines push thousands of tons of steel and cargo through one of the world's busiest energy corridors.
Far below the bridge, machinery runs continuously to maintain safe speed.
For the crew, Hormuz is not an abstract geopolitical idea. It is a demanding workplace. Life aboard an oil tanker can mean weeks or months away from home.
For many sailors, the strait is remembered not through headlines, but through watch schedules, heat, and endless horizons.
Summer temperatures can be punishing, with humidity rising from the warm Gulf. Metal surfaces absorb the sun, while crews continue routine inspections. Safety procedures are strict because even ordinary maintenance happens beside enormous quantities of combustible cargo.
Traffic is carefully organized to reduce the risk of collision.
Ships normally follow designated traffic lanes through the strait. One stream carries vessels toward the open ocean. Another brings empty or loaded ships back toward Gulf terminals.
Separation schemes impose order on a corridor used by vessels of very different sizes.
Commercial giants are not alone here. Local fishermen have worked these waters for generations. For coastal families, Hormuz is also a source of food and livelihood. Their relationship with the strait began long before petroleum transformed the Gulf. Each morning, smaller boats enter the same waters used by global shipping. The contrast is extraordinary. Traditional fishing beside one of modern industry's largest machines. Beneath the shipping lanes lives a productive marine ecosystem.
Rocky habitats support fish adapted to warm, highly saline waters. Sea is both highway and habitat.
Marine mammals also move through the region's interconnected waters.
For these crews, daily decisions depend on currents, weather, and vessel traffic. Skills are often passed from one generation to the next. Some communities remain physically isolated by rugged terrain.
The sea can function as their road to neighboring settlements.
From here, international politics can feel distant, even while its consequences pass directly offshore.
When darkness arrives, Hormuz does not stop.
Shipping operates around the clock.
At night, radar and electronic identification systems become especially important. Every light represents a vessel with its own destination, cargo, and crew. Millions of barrels of energy can move while coastal cities sleep.
The story of Hormuz begins far beyond the strait itself.
Oil produced across the Gulf is gathered, processed, and stored before export. From giant tanks, pipelines carry crude toward offshore berths. Very large crude carriers arrive to receive cargoes measured in millions of barrels.
Small, powerful tugboats help position ships that can be hundreds of times their size.
Before loading begins, the vessel must be secured with extraordinary precision. A single line can be thicker than a person's arm.
Once connected, crude begins flowing through industrial loading systems.
Pressure, temperature, and flow are constantly monitored. Hours later, the ship will depart, carrying energy destined for another continent.
Cargo distribution matters because weight must remain balanced throughout the vessel.
Water ballast helps maintain stability as cargo levels change. Inside the hull, enormous compartments separate and secure the liquid cargo. Fully loaded, the vessel settles lower into the sea. Its next critical waypoint is Hormuz. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar all depend to varying degrees on Gulf export infrastructure. Every departure begins another link in the global supply chain. Production platforms, pipelines, terminals, and ships operate as one enormous system. Many facilities operate 24 hours a day. Thousands of people keep that system functioning. Oil is only part of the Hormuz story. Liquefied natural gas is another crucial cargo. These specialized ships transport natural gas cooled into liquid form. Cooling dramatically reduces the volume of the gas, allowing ocean transport. Qatar has long been one of the world's largest LNG exporters.
Much of that gas travels through Hormuz toward Asian markets.
China, India, Japan, and South Korea sit at the far end of many energy voyages beginning here.
Thousands of kilometers later, the cargo may generate electricity or fuel industry. A light switched on far away can trace part of its energy story back to this narrow sea. That global dependence gives the strait extraordinary strategic weight. Long before oil, Hormuz was already important. Merchants crossed these waters, linking Arabia, Persia, India, and East Africa. Seasonal winds carried traders across the Indian Ocean. Goods, languages, and ideas moved with them. Control of maritime trade made ports and islands valuable prizes. Empires competed for influence along these shores. Whoever controlled maritime approaches could influence commerce.
The basic geography has never changed. The strait remains a natural bottleneck.
Only the scale of what passes through it has transformed. The 20th century brought a new economic era. Commercial petroleum discoveries reshaped the region. Infrastructure expanded across landscapes once dominated by fishing, pearling, and trade. Oil exports linked Gulf producers directly to industrial economies overseas.
Tankers grew larger as demand increased.
Refineries, petrochemical plants, and export terminals multiplied.
Entire cities developed around the energy economy. Roads, airports, ports, and new industries followed.
Millions of livelihoods became connected to energy production.
And at the center of this expanding network remained the same narrow passage.
For a captain approaching Hormuz, geography becomes immediate.
Every waypoint is planned before the ship reaches the strait.
Course and speed must fit the traffic pattern.
Automation assists, but crews remain prepared to steer manually.
Communication on the bridge must be precise.
Ships, pilots, and maritime authorities exchange information by radio.
Losing speed between two vessels can be deceptive.
Navigation teams calculate whether paths will safely separate.
Even weather affects maneuvering. Strong winds can push a high-sided vessel away from its intended track. Smaller vessels add another layer of complexity. Local boat captains learn to judge the movement of much larger ships.
At close range, the scale is overwhelming.
Sound signals can warn nearby traffic.
Visibility can change quickly under haze and glare. During some mornings, mountains seem to disappear into the atmosphere.
Crews plan for uncertainty rather than perfect conditions.
Engine readiness matters because emergency maneuvers may require immediate power.
Bridge and engine room function as a single team.
Most passages are routine precisely because so much preparation happens beforehand.
Just outside Hormuz, the Gulf of Oman becomes another major maritime workspace.
Ships may wait here for orders, fuel, cargo, or a berth.
Some receive marine fuel without entering port.
Fuel transfers require carefully controlled operations.
Food, spare parts, and equipment must reach crews at sea.
A global shipping network depends on thousands of routine support jobs.
Crew changes connect ships with airports and families around the world. For a sailor, stepping ashore after months at sea can be an emotional moment.
Every voyage also produces an enormous trail of paperwork.
Authorities track traffic, anchorage positions, and port movements.
Shore-based sensors extend surveillance far beyond what the eye can see.
Thousands of electronic signals form a living map of maritime movement.
Automatic identification systems normally broadcast vessel identity, position, and course.
For shipping companies, these signals help monitor fleets across oceans.
Near a strategic choke point, those same signals can acquire geopolitical significance.
Maritime transparency can improve safety, but crews still treat sensitive situations cautiously.
Not everything at sea can be understood from a single electronic picture. Human eyes remain part of the safety system. At sea, uncertainty begins beyond the visible horizon. And in Hormuz, that horizon can carry consequences for global markets. Away from tankers and terminals, life begins before sunrise.
Local catches move quickly from boat to market.
Sea supports families whose connection to Hormuz is deeply personal.
For them, shipping statistics are secondary to weather and catch.
Communities here grow up with the sea always in view. Religion, family, and maritime tradition shape the rhythm of daily life.
A damaged engine can mean a lost day of income. Mechanical knowledge is essential in isolated coastal settlements.
Preparation begins long before a net enters the water.
Another working day begins inside the world's most famous energy choke point.
Below the surface lies a world rarely visible from passing tankers. Warm water ecosystems survive beside one of Earth's busiest shipping routes. Marine animals cross boundaries humans cannot see.
Some species travel between the Gulf of Oman and the Persian Gulf.
The strait acts not only as a shipping corridor, but also as a biological connection. Shallow habitats elsewhere around the Gulf provide nursery grounds for marine life.
Even barren-looking shores support complex ecosystems. Birds follow schools of fish and the boats pursuing them.
The future of local fishing depends on maintaining healthy stocks. Environmental protection here carries both ecological and economic importance.
Heavy shipping inevitably changes the marine environment.
International rules regulate how ships manage waste and oily water.
Modern tankers are designed to reduce accidental releases.
Double hulls provide additional protection around cargo tanks.
Crews regularly practice for fire, collision, and pollution emergencies. Preparation matters, because help may be far away.
Even basic survival equipment is checked repeatedly.
Every person aboard must know where to go during an emergency.
Maritime safety is built on procedures, repeated until they become routine.
The best emergency is the one that never happens. Hormuz is also watched by military forces. Commercial shipping shares these waters with naval vessels from several countries.
Their presence reflects the strait's strategic importance.
Modern naval surveillance can cover enormous distances.
Aircraft extend that awareness even farther.
For civilian sailors, naval activity becomes another element to monitor. Most encounters are uneventful.
But clear communication matters when tension rises.
A strategic choke point concentrates interests that may otherwise be separated by thousands of kilometers.
That concentration is why Hormuz frequently appears in geopolitical calculations.
Iran occupies the entire northern side of the strait.
Communities on this shore also depend on fishing, trade, and maritime access.
Daily life continues beneath the weight of international attention.
The ordinary realities of coastal life rarely reach global headlines.
Yet these waters belong to local experience as much as global strategy.
The local and global worlds constantly overlap. A fisherman's morning can unfold within sight of a multi-million-dollar cargo.
For centuries, people here have read wind, current, and tide. Geography shapes everything.
Islands near the strait add complexity to both navigation and sovereignty. Navigation aids help ships identify hazards. Even a simple buoy can mark an important boundary in a captain's mental map.
Electronic navigation is continually cross-checked.
Satellite positioning provides precision previous generations could only imagine. Maritime culture still respects older methods and redundancy. When safety matters, experienced crews avoid depending on a single system. Navigation is strongest when independent sources agree. That discipline is especially valuable in confined waters. Here, land feels unusually close for a vessel built for open oceans.
From above, the vulnerability of the route becomes obvious.
What happens in Hormuz is watched far beyond the Middle East.
Energy traders react quickly to perceived risks.
A threat to shipping can influence prices even before physical supply changes.
Markets price uncertainty as well as reality.
Higher crude costs can eventually affect transportation.
Jet fuel links petroleum markets to aviation.
Diesel prices influence freight.
Oil and gas also feed chemical industries.
Natural gas supports manufacturing far beyond electricity generation. The Hormuz energy chain touches ordinary life in ways most consumers never see. Electricity may depend partly on imported LNG.
Industry depends on reliable energy flows.
Global trade itself consumes vast quantities of fuel. And somewhere between producer and consumer, ships keep moving. Most crude leaving Hormuz travels toward Asia. Its journey may continue across the Indian Ocean.
Beyond Hormuz, a diverse crew of male and female sailors from various ethnicities face entirely different weather systems.
Major shipping routes converge again farther east.
Another choke point may await before the cargo reaches its destination.
A voyage that began in the Gulf ends at a refinery thousands of kilometers away.
Oil now enters a new industrial system.
Crude is separated and transformed into useful products.
Petrol, diesel, jet fuel, and petrochemical feedstocks emerge from complex refining processes.
From here, energy moves inland.
One narrow passage sits near the beginning of this enormous chain.
Because Hormuz is vulnerable, producers have invested in alternative routes. Pipelines can move some crude across land. Saudi Arabia's east-west system can redirect volumes toward the Red Sea. The United Arab Emirates also possesses a route that reaches the Gulf of Oman without transiting Hormuz.
This gives some exports direct access to open water.
Such alternatives provide strategic flexibility.
But bypass routes have limits.
They cannot simply replace every barrel normally shipped by sea through Hormuz.
That capacity gap is fundamental to the strait's importance.
Pipelines themselves require maintenance and protection.
Energy security depends on entire networks, not one location. Operators watch pressure and throughput constantly. Harsh climate creates its own engineering challenges.
Thousands of kilometers of infrastructure require continuous inspection. For now, maritime transport remains indispensable.
For crews, the global importance of Hormuz does not change the routines of life at sea.
Meals divide long working days.
Ships bring together people from many countries.
A tanker crew can become a temporary international community.
Digital communication has made separation easier, but not easy.
Not easy.
Birthdays and celebrations may happen thousands of kilometers away.
Ordinary domestic routines continue inside a floating industrial machine.
Maintaining physical and mental health is part of life on long voyages.
A few quiet minutes outside can become precious. The sea offers isolation, beauty, and risk in equal measure.
While others sleep, engineers remain on duty.
A large marine engine may operate continuously for weeks. Heat is monitored carefully around critical equipment. Lubricants reveal clues about internal wear. Every inspection becomes part of the ship's technical history.
At sea, crews must often solve problems using only what is already aboard.
Self-reliance is a defining feature of maritime work.
Engine room, maneuvering speed 1 bell.
1 bell acknowledged. When the ship nears confined waters, departments coordinate even more closely.
A simple command can alter the movement of hundreds of thousands of tons.
On shore, another day begins according to a different rhythm.
Communities adapt ancient routines to modern economic realities.
Fuel prices matter even to the smallest boats.
New technology now sits beside traditional knowledge.
Experience still matters. Many maritime skills remain family traditions. Each catch is uncertain.
Global commerce continues, while local male East Asian fishermen concentrate on the water beneath them.
By mid-morning, the day's catch enters the local economy.
The strait feeds communities as surely as it fuels economies.
Tourism has added another layer to local maritime life. Travelers come for scenery that contrasts sharply with Hormuz's dangerous reputation.
Inside sheltered bays, the water can feel almost untouched.
Clear coastal waters reveal another side of the region. From here, global tension seems far away. Yet the energy highway is never truly distant.
Tourism depends on perceptions of stability.
Political uncertainty can affect businesses that have nothing to do with oil.
For local families, geopolitics can become personal economics.
Hormuz connects worlds that rarely appear in the same story. Before a tanker sails, another industry has already measured the danger.
Ships and cargoes require enormous financial protection.
Risk assessments consider geography, conflict, weather, and vessel type.
When risk rises, insurance costs can increase.
Owners may reconsider routes, schedules, or charter rates.
I'm sending the updated coordinates now. You must alter course by 20 degrees.
That's right.
Decisions made in offices quickly influence ships at sea.
Sometimes vessels wait rather than proceed immediately.
Delays can ripple through supply chains. Buyers maintain inventories partly to absorb disruptions. Governments also hold emergency reserves.
These reserves buy time.
But prolonged disruption can eventually reach consumers. Modern economies depend on uninterrupted energy movement. Energy reliability supports essential services. Even the digital economy ultimately depends on physical energy infrastructure. That infrastructure begins with extraction, transport, and geography.
No financial instrument can erase the physical narrowness of this passage.
There is only so much sea between them.
That simple geographical fact creates strategic leverage.
and leverage attracts attention.
Maritime authorities work to maintain order and safety.
Routine patrols can include navigation monitoring, law enforcement, and search and rescue readiness. Accidents at sea require rapid response.
At night, locating a small boat can become extremely difficult.
Emergency transmitters help rescuers find people beyond visual range.
Training prepares crews for the rare moment when minutes matter. Aircraft can extend rescue capability across wide areas.
Commercial crews train for the same reason.
A young African-American male in the sea can disappear from view remarkably quickly.
Repetition turns emergency procedures into instinct.
Danger is managed not by fear, but by preparation.
Most days remain uneventful.
Salt water attacks metal continuously. Maintenance never truly ends aboard a ship.
Even cleaning is part of preservation.
Safety depends on countless small tasks performed correctly.
Documentation proves that critical checks were completed.
Professional shipping is built on discipline.
Discipline allows immense cargoes to move through narrow waters every day.
Routine itself is one of Hormuz's greatest achievements.
The economies surrounding the Persian Gulf have transformed dramatically within a few generations. Oil and gas revenues helped finance some of the world's fastest urban development.
Infrastructure expanded at extraordinary scale.
Many Gulf economies have also built major logistics sectors.
Aviation connects Gulf cities with nearly every region of the world.
Diversification has created industries beyond crude exports.
Renewable energy is becoming part of that changing landscape.
The global energy system itself is evolving. Transport electrification may reduce some future oil demand. Yet natural gas and petroleum remain deeply embedded in today's economy.
Petroleum is not used only as fuel.
It becomes materials used in medicine, construction, and consumer goods.
Some sectors remain difficult to replace rapidly.
Global shipping itself still depends mainly on energy-dense fuels. So the strait's significance will not disappear overnight.
Energy transition and energy security must coexist.
New systems require investment.
Old systems continue operating while new ones grow.
For decades, both realities may exist together.
Hormuz, therefore, remains part of the world's energy future, as well as its present.
Geography gives Hormuz its strategic role.
Politics determines how that geography is experienced.
Iran regards the strait as essential to its national security. Oman has long occupied a geographically central position on its southern side.
International shipping depends on predictable transit.
Diplomacy can therefore influence what happens on the water.
Negotiations far from the coast may affect decisions made aboard ships. But diplomatic progress can be fragile. Seafarers cannot control geopolitics. They can only manage the risks placed before them. Periods of heightened tension change the atmosphere immediately. Watchkeeping becomes more intense. Shipping companies communicate more frequently with vessels.
Crews review procedures for unusual encounters.
Shipboard security plans become more visible.
Emergency readiness increases.
Professional crews avoid panic.
Their job is to make disciplined decisions from verified information.
A successful transit may end without incident.
For those aboard, routine can feel like victory.
When regional tension becomes severe, vessel traffic can fall sharply.
Ships may delay departure while owners assess conditions.
Reduced shipping can slow exports. Production may eventually need adjustment if storage fills. The consequences move upstream through the energy system.
Markets respond almost immediately.
Physical supply reacts more slowly. Shipping networks reorganize around risk. Bypass infrastructure becomes more valuable. Alternative ports can absorb some cargo. But every workaround carries cost. Longer journeys consume more fuel. They also consume time. Charter prices may change quickly. Energy disruption can influence broader shipping markets.
Businesses respond by seeking alternative suppliers.
Gas buyers can face in particularly difficult choices.
Not every cargo can be replaced immediately. Energy security is ultimately about avoiding interruption.
And few places demonstrate that challenge more clearly than this strait. Night watch begins again.
At sea, responsibility passes from one watch team to another.
Position, traffic, weather, and machinery status are reviewed.
The captain remains available even while off watch.
Hours may pass with little conversation.
Attention must remain constant.
A light on the horizon is observed until its intentions become clear.
There are moments of extraordinary beauty.
But the ship never truly feels still.
Every mile is documented.
Slowly, Hormuz approaches. Land appears before sunrise.
More eyes come to the bridge.
Machinery is prepared for rapid response.
Visual awareness expands.
The surrounding picture becomes clearer. The ship joins the flow.
Years of training are applied quietly.
Precision keeps steel apart. Another crossing is completed.
At the same hour, smaller crews are completing their own journeys.
Two economies share one sea.
Farther inland, another shift begins.
Gas continues moving through pipes.
Industry continues.
Energy moves toward consumers.
Thousands of kilometers away, transportation systems begin another day.
Most will never think about Hormuz.
Yet reliable energy is woven into their routines.
The connection is invisible, but real. The strait's danger is sometimes misunderstood.
It is not dangerous because every day brings conflict.
Most passages are ordinary commercial voyages.
Thousands of professionals make them routine.
Families live normal lives along its shores.
Nature continues around them.
Trade continues.
Harbors continue working. The danger lies in consequence.
When so much depends on one narrow route, even a temporary disruption matters. Every vessel carries more than cargo. It carries contracts, expectations, and obligations.
It carries the labor of people rarely seen.
It connects workers ashore with sailors at sea.
It connects producers with refiners.
And ultimately, it connects energy with everyday life.
For local communities, the strait is home.
For communities on the opposite shore, it is home as well. For international shipping, it is a passage.
For governments, it is strategy.
For markets, it is risk.
For seafarers, it is work.
For marine life, it is habitat.
And history has layered all these meanings onto the same water. Few places combine geography, energy, and geopolitics so completely. A ship clearing Hormuz still has thousands of kilometers ahead. The narrow passage opens suddenly into a vast horizon. The bridge returns to ocean-going routine.
Another voyage continues.
Meanwhile, another ship begins the crossing.
Another fisherman finishes his working day.
Another night shift begins.
Another watch takes responsibility.
The cycle never truly stops.
Hour after hour, commerce moves through darkness.
Night becomes morning.
And the energy lifeline continues. The Strait of Hormuz is narrow enough to appear fragile, yet important enough to command the attention of the world. Its real story belongs not only to governments and markets, but to captains, engineers, fishermen, port workers, and families whose lives intersect here. Between desert mountains and an endless sea, the world's energy keeps moving, one ship, one crew, and one careful passage at a time.